The trillion-dollar theft, how Steve Jobs stole Xerox's best ideas. In 1979, a young Steve Jobs walked into a research center called Xerox PARC. He was there to see a demonstration of a new kind of technology. Within 10 minutes, he was jumping up and down, shouting, "Why aren't you doing anything with this? This is a gold mine!" He was looking at the first graphical user interface, the mouse, the windows, the folders. Xerox had invented the future of computing, but they were too blind to see it. Jobs walked out of that room and built the Macintosh, while Xerox stayed in the copier business. This is the greatest business heist in the history of Silicon Valley. Welcome to History's Echo. We look at the ideas that changed the world and the people who knew how to sell them. Today, we see how the biggest company in tech was built on someone else's invention. In the 1970s, Xerox was the king of the office. They were so rich they built a research center in Palo Alto, PARC, and told the world's smartest engineers to just invent the future. And they did. They built the Alto, a computer that had a mouse, bitmapped graphics, and even Ethernet. It was 20 years ahead of its time, but the executives at Xerox headquarters in New York didn't get it. They thought a computer was a giant machine for counting numbers, not something people would use to be creative. They were copier people. Steve Jobs, however, was a product person. He made a deal with Xerox. He would let them invest $1 million in Apple if they would let him see what was behind the curtain at PARC. Jobs later famously said, "They were copier heads who had no clue about what a computer could do." Xerox could have owned the entire computer industry. Jobs took those ideas, the windows, the icons, the mouse, and refined them into the Macintosh. When Bill Gates later did the same with Windows, Jobs was furious. Gates replied with the most famous line in tech history. "It's more like we both had this rich neighbor named Xerox, and I broke into his house to steal the TV set and found out that you had already stolen it." This wasn't just a theft, it was a masterclass in vision. Xerox had the technology, but Apple and Microsoft had the business model. It proves that in the tech world, being first doesn't matter if you don't know what you have. Xerox's failure to capitalize on PARC is now taught in every business school in America as the ultimate example of corporate blindness. Steve Jobs didn't invent the GUI, but he made the world use it. Xerox stayed with copiers, and Apple became the first $3 trillion company. Who really won? This is History's Echo. If you want to know how the giants of Silicon Valley were really built, subscribe and join us. Leave a comment. Is stealing ideas just part of the business game?